They call it a royal with cheese. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. The first beta of iOS 26.2 came out. There's big news for Apple Podcasts plus other features. And it looks like Apple's going to make that deal with Google for Gemini to power the voice assistant on iPhone, plus a ton of other news like OpenAI and Amazon, Perplexity versus Amazon, Spotify had announcements about video podcasts, TikTok is doing an award show, and a ton more. This episode is brought to you by Zapier, Masterclass, and Shopify, and you, the members who support us directly. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Robles, now in winter here in Florida, which means it's 60 degrees, with my friend Jason Aten. How's it going, Jason?
It is not 60 degrees here, Stephen. It was 23. It was 23 this morning.
Oh, my word, yeah. We one of our reviews, actually, I'm just going to jump right to it. We had 2 5-star review shout-outs this past week. Thank you for that. We're like 15 away from 400 5-star reviews. So help us get there by the end of the year. Leave us a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. You get a shout out on the show. But Doug McMack from Florida, former Michigander. So he was in both our places, in Michigan, now in Florida. And so immediate connection to what we do. But they said that we explain things so that they can understand. Favorite Apple Tech podcast. Thank you for that. And iButch IPB from the UK, been listening since week 1. It's become an essential part of the week. Battery percentage on. Point to you on that one, Jason.
I mean, Stephen, 30% of the people who live in Florida used to live in Michigan. Like, it's a thing.
That's fair.
It's where Michiganders go. I was going to say to die, but I mean retire. A lot of people move from Michigan.
To live out their lives, to live out their days.
I mean, half of the property in Florida is like second homes for people in Michigan.
Well, that's true. And then you got the whole villages, that's just strange.
That's a totally different thing.
Yeah, we can't
leave that alone.
No.
Yes.
Do you know where the movie quote was? They call it Royal.
Yes. Well, here's the thing.
Yes.
We have a rule.
Yeah.
Which is that you have to have seen the movie.
Yes. Yes, that is a rule.
And my question, it's Pulp Fiction, but my question is that the only line in the entire movie that's not bleeped out if you VidAngel that movie? Because there's no way.
That's not a family movie. We'll just say that.
Right.
Clearly.
So I'm impressed that you have seen that movie.
If listeners,
it is a classic. If you do a movie podcast, you have to have seen Pulp Fiction.
It is a classic. We've never talked about our movies on the side, which I think we're going to record an episode next week. So stay tuned. It's happening. But for our listeners and viewers who are not familiar, I will sometimes use a service called VidAngel, which is a way to filter movies, both audio and visual, of different things. And you can actually choose the filters of what you see and hear. And so in the profanity section, you can choose to just cut out all profanity. And in some movies, like, you have this bar graph of what you will see and what you will hear, trying to tell you like how much will be cut out when you apply this filter. And the audio filter for Pulp Fiction is like, you're going to hear 5% of this movie. Like, let's be honest. I almost want to pull it up right now just to do it. But as I do, I just want to say two pin updates. The pin. Now we're on the good news side of the pin, because the pins have been going places. Okay, so I pulled up the Pulp Fiction movie in VidAngel app on my iPhone, and it shows you these bar graphs, what you'll see and what you'll hear. And when there's a big chunk taken out of the bar graph, it's muting something or skipping a scene. And you can see in the what you'll hear category, a lot of notches taken out of that bar graph.
Yeah.
That's that.
I almost signed up for VidAngel because our boys who are 11 and 14 wanted to watch Deadpool, and I was like, "There's no point. There's nothing you can watch in that movie." Because
it also cut out like graphic stuff. So also if you're sensitive to like gore or stuff like that, like it's good for that. But anyway, one other thing before we get to all the news: pins have made it around the world. Fran in Spain got their pin, and so here it is. Nice little picture of that. And I want to say, I've never thought about wearing a pin like this, but Blues X5 on Threads sent us this photo. Put the medieval knight on a polar bear on the cuff of his sweatshirt. That's a good look.
All right.
That was a good look. And because I just cannot stop it with the pins. I don't know what it is. I just can't stop myself, Jason.
I know. I've been thinking about trying to stop you, but then I realized that the resistance is futile.
Well, I have a better system now for the pins. I'm not going to ship anything out myself. And I'm still trying to work out all the details, but there's a version 2 of the pin, of the polar bear riding a medieval knight. I posted it on social media. So this is the new one. You might not. I need the old one for. Oh no! I need the old one for scale. I just dropped the pin. There's one less that I have. Here's version 1 versus version 2 of the pin. So we're gonna have an entire army of medieval knights riding polar bears. Just can't stop myself. I just love it. Okay, let's get to the news. And because iOS 26.2, the first developer beta came out, and iOS 26.1, like the actual public version, came out. And I want to know, did you update and actually go to tinted, or are you still on clear?
I'm just leaving it the way it was.
Leave it on clear?
Yeah.
I went tinted, and I think I might like it better, but I'm not sure.
Really?
Anyway, well, you should try tinted for a couple days and see what you think, because the notifications, I think I prefer the legibility. But anyway, 26.2 beta 1 came out. There's some minor changes like sleep score changes. They're changing how they score it and the different categories and how it measures that. Bunch of changes to Apple Podcasts, which we're going to get to in a second. Apple News got a slight redesign. AirPods Live translations coming to the EU, and more tweaks to Liquid Glass, because on the lock screen now in 26.2, you're going to get a slider to change how opaque elements are, like the clock. So this is just affecting the lock screen. This is not like a system-wide glass slider, which a bunch of people, I imagine, are going to ask for that. They have asked for that, and will probably even more so once this actually comes out. But you'll be able to adjust the opacity of the clock and lock screen icons, and unglassify your lock screen. But I'm talking about Apple Podcasts, and I'm not going to go super long, because I asked on social media, and most people wanted 2 hours, but a few people wanted 5 minutes. So I'll split the difference and go 40.
And I was one of the people that wanted 5 minutes. And
so here's the deal. I've podcasted for like 15 years, as weird as that sounds. Like, I used to write XML feeds and text edit on my Mac and post that to a web server. So I have strong feelings about podcasts in general, but these two new features, on the face of it, are great. And then when you get a little deeper, get a little weird. And so that's why I just wanted to tell you the features and tell you why they're a little weird. But Apple announced this not even in a newsroom article, which is another thing. Like, I wish they didn't really make a big deal about this. This kind of had to be discovered. And then, like, the industry pushes it out. There's not like an Apple newsroom about these changes. Maybe they'll do it when 26.2 is out publicly. But the two major changes are chapters and timed links in Apple Podcasts. Chapters, Apple's going to start auto-generating chapters for every show unless creators opt out. Now, this is the same kind of thing with transcripts. Apple started doing transcripts for every show, every episode, unless the creators opted out. I think that's great. The transcript feature, especially for accessibility, searchability, where you can actually search the transcripts, really very little downsides to that. And podcasters, as some people were saying on social media, do they still respect kind of like the RSS open standards? Apple still does, because if you upload a transcript and attach it through the RSS feed, Apple will default to that rather than its auto-generated transcript. So it's still respecting the open standards when it comes to transcripts and also doing their own. Now, when it comes to chapters, many creators, like our show, we do chapters. Every episode, every week, I put the chapters in there. I'll get into a little technical details in a second. But now, creators who don't manually send chapters with their episode, Apple's going to auto-generate it. I'm very, very curious what shows opt out for two reasons. One, some podcasters don't like chapters. Like, just because they feel like if you want to listen to our show, we want you to listen to the whole thing. Merlin Mann. I love Merlin Mann. He was on the Movies on the Side podcast. I've listened to him for years. He doesn't like adding chapters to his stuff. And so I'm very curious if, like, Rec Diffs and Roderick on the Line, if he's going to allow the automated chapters or if he's going to opt out, because you can just opt your show out totally. The other thing which is interesting is ads and auto-generated chapters. I'm curious how Apple is going to handle sponsor breaks. And so I think of like the Smartless podcast, one of the top shows in Apple Podcasts. Is Apple going to generate chapters, and will the Smartless people let those stand? And will there be a chapter that says ads? And will that then make it easier to skip the whole ad break? And how will the big shows feel about that? So I'm curious what choices creators make when it comes to opting in and opting out of the chapters. And then secondly, Apple has allowed, if you want to add chapters, Apple has made it a little easier, because you've always been able to add chapters via embedding them in the MP3. Technically, it's using the ID3 tags. That's how I do it. The app Fairwrite automatically embeds that into the MP3. Apple Podcast parses those, as well as third-party apps. You can do chapter artwork and links, all of that. Apple's still supporting that. You can also add chapters just by putting raw text timestamps in the episode description like a YouTube video. So you can literally do 00.00:00 intro, 01:00, and then the next chapter. And so if you put that in your episode description, come 26.2, chapters will auto-generate that way as well. And there's another method that Apple is going to allow for chapters. Again, I won't get it super technical. So more support for chapters, auto-generated chapters with creators with the option to opt out. Curious how that's going to play out with ads and also dynamic content. Some podcasts do a lot of dynamic insertion of ads where just they put a timestamp, like the Verge cast. They put a timestamp where they want the ads to appear, and I'm curious how Apple's auto-generated chapters will handle that. Jason, before I continue, any thoughts on chapters or anything like that? Why are you laughing?
I have thoughts about, I think, no, I mean,
okay.
I just want to know if they've solved the problem.
I will get to that thirdly.
Okay.
Because
what number exactly are we on, just so I can...
This is one of two.
Okay.
The chapters feature writ large. Number 2 is timed links. Number 3 is chapters and subscriber audio, because it's the most technical. And I'll put a chapter for each thing I'm talking about. There'll be a chapter for chapters. There'll be a chapter for timed links. And there'll be a chapter for chapters and subscriber audio.
Okay, here's a good question.
Yeah, please.
Because this is the only part I care about, which is, do you think... And listeners, I'd love to know what you think, especially because I do care what Steven thinks, but I kind of know what he thinks because he just does this. Do you prefer to see a list of chapters where the chapters are only 2 minutes long? Or do you prefer broader categories of chapters? I prefer broader categories of chapters. I always think it's weird if it's like, why? Because if you were reading a book, you typically expect most of the chapters of a book to be roughly the same length. You don't expect to have a 40-page chapter and then a 3-page chapter. So I'm just curious. So like, should the chapters be like lightning round? Or should it be, we talked about this for 2 minutes, this for 1 minute, this for 2 minutes, this for 3 minutes? I'm just curious. Philosophically, Steven.
So listen, podcasts are not books, first of all.
Okay, thank you. I thought I was living in a book right now.
I do have that existential question whenever I'm editing the show every week. And I'm like, do I just do lightning round or do I do chapters? One of the reasons I do chapters is because I can change the image each time. And so if we do mention something visual, I can do that. There is an option for something called silent chapters where the image changes at a timestamp, but you don't see the chapter marker in the actual listing. But if I have to do that anyways, I'm like, well, let me just put the chapter in there because then you also see the chapter name change. You know the topic we're talking about. So, I would love to hear listeners for lightning round type things. Would you want just lightning round in the chapter or do you want the individual things? I imagine people who like chapters would want more chapters, but we'll see. We would love to hear from you. Podcast at primarytech.fm, our community, carrier pigeon, however. Chapter number 2 on chapters is timed links. This is even more interesting because Apple is now allowing creators to link several different ways. You can link a chapter, which is something you've been able to do a long time in third-party app support like Pocket Casts, but now Apple will actually pull the link from the chapter that you embedded in your MP3, or if you put a link in your show description and a timestamp next to it, Apple will show that link like a little card that pops up and it will be tappable. And it will even automatically generate timed links when it detects that you have mentioned another podcast or podcast episode. So I am very curious how often it does that. And it is a great feature, especially if you have a guest on your show and you can link to their podcast at a timestamp. You could say, hey, tap the banner in Apple Podcasts right now, and you can go follow their show. That's a great feature. And vice versa. Like if John Gruber were to say on the talk show, I was on Primary Technology, and you should go follow their show. And he could actually put a link. He's not going to. But he could put a link to our show so you could link back to us. Like that's great. So you can do timed links for chapters. You can also insert these timed links wherever you want, based on what timestamps you put in the description of your episode next to the link. Not super clear, like if you have to do raw HTML, put the full link in the show notes. I've asked for clarity on that. But the caveat is this is only for linking to Apple content. So this only works for Apple Podcasts, Apple News, Apple Music, Maps, Books, Stocks, Apple TV, and Shazam. But this is not like link anything you want. For instance, sponsors. So you can't put a timed link for a sponsor. So when the sponsor break comes, you can't put a link to Zapier or Masterclass or Shopify. Not for that. You can't put a link to news articles. Like, so if we talk about a 9 to 5 Mac article, I can't put a timed link to 9 to 5 Mac. This is only for Apple content. This is one of the things where Apple does a great job respecting the open standards of RSS, but now they've also added a feature that really benefits them more than everybody. Fine, great that it's, I guess, exists. I think it will be good if you're doing these kinds of feed swaps or podcasters or guests on each other's shows, but I think it's kind of funny and that it's only Apple content that you can link. Jason, thoughts?
I hate this. This is terrible.
Why?
No, seriously. Why in the world, if someone's listening to the show, would we want them to go somewhere else? Apple. No, hold on. This is a thing. Okay, the chapters. These are both good examples of one of the things I cannot figure out about Apple, which is you have been the most benevolent of dictators of the podcast ecosystem for like 2 decades.
I was trying not to go for hours on this, but you're saying stuff.
But you still don't understand podcasts. The chapters thing, it took them so long to really deeply support one of the features that people care about the most who really love podcasts. And then the second thing is, I don't want to send people to Apple Stocks or Apple News or Apple anything when they're listening to this show, because they leave and then they don't come back and then they don't hear the ad or they don't whatever it is. Like, this makes absolutely no sense to me. Okay, so, for example, for someone who lives on the internet, you don't have this problem in YouTube because people are just watching your YouTube video. And yes, you can put a video up there, but no one puts a link to somebody else's video. You might link to one of your own videos, and that's fine because you're just...
I'll put them in the description.
But what ends up happening is, like, somebody clicks on that link and it tells the YouTube that that's a good video and it helps that video, like, whatever. But, for example, if I write an article... And I link to other sources all the time, but I always link those as open this in a new tab so that the article you are reading of mine is still there so that you're not leaving. I don't want to bounce you off of the page. Why would we want to bounce people out of our podcast?
So let me
as
show
opposed
you
as opposed to just including the link in the description.
So one of the things about this new timed link feature is that the links will appear in line in the transcript. And so this is literally, I'm running the beta on this iPhone, and so this is what it looks like. So if the creator were to link an Apple book or another show, the link shows up like this. There's actually a plus icon, so you can quickly add this to your books library or to your Apple Podcast app without changing anything. You could just click the plus, add it to your library, and you've not left the current podcast or stopped playing. If you tap the link, it'll take you to that podcast, but the podcast you were listening to is still playing. So this is one of the things, like, maybe this is why Apple is doing this, because if you were to link a YouTube video, like I would link a bunch of mine probably, then the video would start playing and the podcast would stop playing. Now, I don't know what that means for like an Apple TV thing that you might link, because if an Apple TV show starts playing after someone tapped a timed link, maybe that would stop. But being Apple's own content, it's something that you can add it to your library, maybe add it to your Apple TV, whatever, without losing this experience. And those links not only show up in the transcript, like I'm just showing, but it will also show up as links in the now playing screen. So I'm going to see if it's actually going to pop up. This is Pod News. I put a bunch of timed links in our last episode to see if they would appear, and I haven't gotten them to work yet. So I'm not sure why James got them to work for Pod News and not me. But now it's not popping up on the now playing screen, but it should pop up on the now playing screen and in the and that's what that is. Yeah, I get it. I don't know. Now, also, that's the only Apple Podcast is the only place that's going to work. Like any third-party app, like Pocket Cast or whatever, like none of these features are for that. This is just for Apple Podcasts. Our show is, like, because it's a very Apple-centric show, most of our listeners are on Apple Podcasts, so this is a feature that you'll be able to use. But anyone who listens in Overcast, Pocket Cast, like, this means nothing for third-party apps. This is just for Apple. And this is also not a podcast standard per se. The standard for RSS feeds, that's an open standard, is you can have a link as a part of a chapter. Pocket Cast and Overcast support that. So if you listen, you can actually tap a link in the chapter. And just as an example, I'm literally going to put a link on every chapter this week. So you can see what it looks like in a third-party app if you want. And I'm also going to try to put these timed links. So if you're running the beta, don't run the beta just for this, you can see what they look like in Apple Podcasts. But anyway, this is not an open standard. This is something Apple is doing just by itself. We'll see how it goes. I wish you could link other things besides just Apple content, but it's interesting. The management of it in the Podcast Connect dashboard is a little weird, but I won't get into that. All right, that was chapter 2. Chapter 3 of chapters. Chapters and subscriber audio. This is something that I've complained about for a long time, from Apple Insider till now. You've literally talked to the Apple Podcast team about this. Thank you, Apple Podcast team, if you're listening, for adding this feature. The implementation is not the best. And here's what I mean, okay?
Well, tell them what you want first, what we've always wanted.
What I want is a guarantee. You know what movie that's from? We've done that before. What I want. No more attempts on my chapter's life. Here's the thing. I export an MP3 file that's ad-free for our paid subscribers, and that MP3 file has chapters embedded using ID3 tags. I send that MP3 to multiple places. I send it to Memberful, so the people who support the show through Memberful get all the chapters with the artwork, no problem. I send that same MP3 to Apple Podcasts Connect for those who support us through Apple Podcasts, and up until this point, Apple would just strip my chapters out of the MP3 and do nothing. So if you literally pay to support this show, you get a worse experience because you get 0 chapters in subscriber audio. Now, what I want is do the same thing that Memberful and Patreon and all these other services do, where it's just don't touch my MP3 file. Just give that to our subscribers and they'll get the chapters, because Apple Podcasts and third-party apps can all parse that data, the ID3 chapters. For some reason, Apple is still stripping them out of my MP3 file and now giving me the option to add chapters to subscriber audio as plain text timestamps in the episode description. Now, Jason, I don't know if you're familiar, but like in Apple Podcasts specifically, our main show, Primary Technology, if you don't support it, you listen to the free version, you press play on that episode, you get the full MP3 file with ads. If you pay in Apple Podcasts, it's the same show that you follow, but when you support and become a subscriber, when you hit play, you get served a different MP3 file. You get served the ad-free MP3 file that I've uploaded to Apple Podcasts. There's only one episode description and one title for that episode, whether it's the free version or the subscriber version. Now, if the only way I can add chapters is via plain text in the episode description, Jason, what do you think the problem is with that methodology?
Well, I mean, you got to put it everywhere, right? It's going to be in both of those descriptions. And you've already added the chapters, and it might be like, yeah, it's just insane.
The ad-free version is different because there's no ads.
Right.
So the timestamps are different.
Right.
Like in the subscriber audio, I literally cut out the very beginning part of the show where I say, and this episode is brought to you by Zapier Masterclass and Shopify. Like I cut that out, and it's just a few seconds, but now every chapter after that will be mistimed. And then after the ad break in the show, those chapters are going to be off by like 5 minutes. And so I cannot put chapters in the description that apply to both the ad version and the ad-free version because it's different timestamps. So the episode description is not a good method to add chapters. Now, I've asked for clarity if there's any way for me to add chapters manually. Like, can I dictate chapters to the subscriber audio without the description timestamps? And I've not gotten a clear answer yet. But it seems as though how I've been doing it, adding the chapters into the MP3 file, is not going to be a way to do it. And right now, you can log into Podcast Connect dashboard and actually see the new features. Even though it's in beta on iOS, Podcast Connect, all the features are there. And I can go to my subscriber audio and I can see that chapters are automatically generated. And here's the weird thing, last thing, and then I'll stop ranting. Because it's not pulling chapters from my MP3 file, Apple Podcasts is going to auto-generate chapters, but just for my subscriber audio, which means the chapters that I dictate with the chapter artwork, those who listen to the free version will get that. But if you pay to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, you will get some auto-generated chapters from Apple without artwork, without links, and that I don't have control over. And I could just, and my only other option is just opt out and say, don't put chapters in the subscriber audio, or let these auto-generated chapters stand. As of right now, I have not gotten any more clarity from Apple, but as it stands, that's how it's going to function right now, which kind of sucks. I'm just going to be real.
Why do you think that this is? Like, this is not a hard problem to solve. And the only thing that I can like imagine is they built a new infrastructure to do the member thing, the member podcasts, right? They didn't take what they already had and duplicate it for they've recreated something, but they did it in a way that doesn't allow them to just, because there's no reason why it shouldn't just allow you to you're uploading. Well, actually, you're uploading one to Apple Podcasts, right, and one to the host service that's going everywhere else. Is that correct?
Right. So I upload one to the podcast host, RSS feed. Apple Podcast picks up that audio,
and it does it. It knows exactly what to do with everything in that feed, and it just does it all perfectly. It adds the chapters, it adds the chapter art, it just does it all.
Because
and
it's just delivering the MP3 file from the RSS feed.
And
Apple
so what I don't
it.
understand is why don't they just allow either and if you subscribe to this through Memberful, right, you get chapters.
Yes, because you're pulling the same audio file that from there. It's a secret RSS feed, but it's the same thing. It's just delivering.
Yeah, but if you actually give the file to Apple Podcasts, they're like, nah. So they built that completely separately. It seems like. Yes,
and it's really annoying. So last thing. If you watch on YouTube, I'm literally just going to show you Podcast Connect and what I see as a creator. So here's our last episode. I have one description that applies to both free and subscribers. This one description gets served to both. So any timestamps here would affect both places. At the bottom, there is a free RSS audio, and this is saying, okay, we pulled it from your RSS feed. Here's the file. Timed links are provided, because I put that in the chapters or in the thing. Chapters are provided, meaning I provided them in the MP3 file, and then the transcript was automatically created because I didn't embed a transcript for this episode. And so I can now see, and this is new, I can now see the entire transcript, the chapters with chapter artwork, and the timed links. All of that is here for the free RSS audio, meaning people who don't pay for it. Then for this same episode, in Apple Podcasts specifically, there's a subscriber audio section. And here, first of all, I don't know what happened to the transcript or whatever, but you'll see chapters are automatically created, meaning Apple is going to auto-generate these. They're not pulling it from my MP3 file. This is my file right here with chapters in it, Apple. And for some reason, Apple is refusing to pull the chapters that I put here. And even if I go into this editing thing, it does not give me the option for that. And I learn about editing chapters, and it just sends me to this, and it's whatever. Anyway, that's why I'm crashing out about chapters, because it's so close. It's Apple loves chapters. I saw this announcement, I was tweeting about it, I was all excited, and then I actually got into the weeds, and I was like, this actually doesn't solve the problem because the people who pay to support the show get a worse experience, and I don't think this actually solves it. Please, Apple Podcast team, you guys are wonderful, okay? I've talked to you many times. If I'm wrong about this and you're actually going to do the chapters the right way, please let me know. I will issue a correction on this podcast. But as it stands right now, that's how it is, and I'm not super happy about it. I didn't go an hour. I only went 20 minutes, I think.
I think you should have gone an hour. This feels like it's worth it, Stephen.
Well, and the bigger conversation, which I'm going to refrain from now, maybe we could talk about it later, is the overarching theme of Apple as the biggest arbiter for podcasts. Because one of the news articles we'll talk about in the lightning round is Spotify announced how video podcasts are blowing up and all that kind of stuff. Yes, video podcasts are big. Here's the deal. If you look at podcast consumption, more people consume audio podcasts. Meaning even if there's a greater number of people who watch the New Heights video podcast with Taylor Swift, people listen to more of the audio, meaning they listen for longer. They're more invested in a podcast when they listen to the audio-only version. That's true of our show, too. We've done video from day one. We were on YouTube, and you'll see on YouTube we have 3,000-something subscribers, which is amazing. We get about 1,000 views per episode on YouTube. On Spotify, we get a couple hundred views on the video there. Audio-wise, we get about 4,000 downloads of the audio only. And so and I think we do a pretty good video show. We got good video quality. We're trying to make visuals. When it comes to podcasts, people are still more invested in the audio, and that's where they stick around long term. They listen to more of an episode. There's more people listen to more minutes of our audio show than watch the minutes of the video show. Just people are just more invested in it. That's still my habits. I still listen to podcasts more than I watch them. And so when it comes to the podcasting world, Apple Podcasts, the app, is still number one. You'll see a lot of stats on the internet that YouTube is now number one for podcasting. If you just look at view counts, sure, there's more view counts. If you look at minutes of podcast consumed, video or audio, Apple Podcasts is still number one. Spotify is now a closer second because people do listen in Spotify and watch, but Apple still is in the top spot. Now, that's changed a lot over the last 5 years. It used to be far and away the leader of people who consume podcasts. But now it's like, I think it's like 34% of people listen to podcasts on Apple Podcasts. It's like high 20s, low 30s for Spotify. So it's pretty close. All that to say, Apple still has the influence to make changes in the podcast industry as a whole that affects all creators, that can either lift the podcasting industry in ways or decrease it. That is why I've also said Apple really needs to support video podcasts. I know they always, like, whenever you mention that, Apple's like, we support video podcasts. You can do a video RSS feed right now. That is true. You can watch Mac Break Weekly, the video, in Apple Podcasts. But they have to do the silly thing of where they have two RSS feeds. They have a video feed, and that's why you see Mac Break Weekly video, and they have an audio feed, Mac Break Weekly audio. That's a poor experience for listeners and viewers, as opposed to YouTube Music and Spotify, and our show too. In those places, you can literally tap video, audio. You get one show, one feed, one episode, and you can switch between video and audio. Apple needs to do that in Apple Podcasts, and if they do it, that can also affect the entire industry and how creators can make their stuff. So that's why, like, I get passionate about, like, what is Apple going to do to podcasting? Because still in this moment right now, 2025, Apple still has a lot of influence on the industry. So
Yeah, and a lot of the people who listen to podcasts, well, first of all, it makes a lot of sense that listening still to audio only is the dominant way that people consume podcasts, because you can do it in a lot more places. You can listen to an audio podcast while you're driving your car. I do not recommend you watch the YouTube version of this episode while you're driving your car.
I'm flailing around.
I'm just going to suggest that it's, even if Steven sat perfectly still, it's a bad idea to watch video while you're driving your car. I'm just going to be clear, right? That's why CarPlay doesn't support video while you're driving, right? It's like, there's reasons for this. So that makes a lot of sense. In podcasting, yes, is changing, but it still just is weird to me. I can't figure it out. I feel like I want to dig into this some more. That Apple is making these changes, and they seem so confident about the changes that they're making, and yet it just seems like there's a huge disconnect between what they're suggesting, what they're offering, and what people actually want in the podcast ecosystem. I don't know, like, maybe there's just no one at Apple making podcasts. I don't know.
They have
exactly.
a bunch of original shows. They announced a new original show this week.
Yeah, but they're not making them. I mean, they have original shows.
Apple
but
News, the Apple News podcast.
Sure, but I just feel like there's just a very big disconnect between what the industry of podcasters are asking for that would actually add value. And the member thing is crazy, because you know what a lot of shows have just done? They just don't offer that in Apple Podcasts. They just make you go somewhere else, because then you can deliver a better experience. And the conversation I had with someone at Apple about, like, it was Ben Cave, who's the global head of podcast. Now, he's not the global head of the podcast app. Right. Slightly different thing. He's the guy who's making all those original shows, not making them, but you get it. Is like, it is insane that people can pay us money in the app, which is great, because that's fantastic for the acquisition of subscribers, right? It's just right there. You've already got your credit card on file. You just tap a thing, boom, as opposed to saying you have to go to this other place and you have to go do that. But the people who are paying get a worse experience when it comes to this. And that just doesn't make any sense. And what makes even less sense is that when they went to fix it, they didn't fix the easy way to do that.
They didn't do the easy
there's
thing.
Such an easy way to fix this that would have made everyone happy. It's like, literally just stop doing something. Just, if you stop doing this one thing, everything will be better.
Because also, I have to use a stupid AI browser to publish my subscriber audio, because it takes 30 minutes to process it.
Because it takes 30 minutes to strip out your chapters, Steven.
Just don't process. Just leave it. Leave it pasture raised, grass fed, whatever. Just leave it alone.
No GMOs necessary. Let's just let this thing
homogenize.
go.
Don't do any. Just leave it alone. Anyway,
it makes no sense.
And here's the thing: like you were saying, like Relay.fm is an entire network of shows. I actually talked to somebody there the other day, because they're great guys. Just to chat. I love, Relay is great. They don't do any subscriptions in Apple Podcasts. You cannot support a Relay.fm show in Apple Podcasts because of this nonsense. Because you get a worse experience. But here's the thing. I'll just tell you. We have less than 100 paid supporters through Memberful. Less than 100. I won't be specific. We have less than 100. We have way more in Apple Podcasts. And some of them have done 50, annual things, $5. And so people have paid for a year. And so I don't want to shut it off. But more people not like double, but more people have signed up in Apple Podcasts because it's easier. And like me, like I want all my subscriptions in one place. Like I will always try to go with the App Store in-app subscription because it's easier to cancel. Like I will do that. And I am more inclined to pay money for something when it uses that easy Apple subscription mechanism through your iCloud account. So more people have converted. Like we have more people that support us directly through Apple Podcasts than Memberful. So for me to turn that off, A, we would lose a bunch of subscribers. I probably just wouldn't move to Memberful. But B, like I want it to be easy for listeners to support the show. And that's what Apple Podcasts provides. They just make it a worse experience for literally, like I've never heard a reason why they process the MP3, namely strip my chapters out. I don't understand. Like I've never heard like what they're doing in the back. Like they're not applying some kind of audio improvement or enhancement. Like they're not doing anything to it. They're just taking the chapters out, and I don't understand that. So,
well, I'm literally I've opened up the email.
Oh,
from the person that set up the interview that I had a while back, and I'm going to reply to it today and be like, hey, so you guys did a thing, but you didn't quite do a thing, and I want to write about the thing that you didn't do, so let's talk.
Yeah, I don't understand. And maybe it'll change. 26.2, this is beta 1. We'll see. I'm gonna be watching like a hawk. But
this is not really a 26.2 thing. This is a Apple Podcast infrastructure thing.
Yes, and I don't know, like, again, if they're like adjusting the system in this beta period before 26.2 goes public. So I will keep an eye out. I will issue a correction if somehow chapters magically appear. But right now on my phone with 26.2 beta, if you do the subscriber audio, you don't get chapters.
Well, and sorry, the reason I say that is Apple announced this in an email to people using Podcast Connect.
Correct.
Like they literally said, so like this is an Apple Podcast Connect update, not an iOS 26.2 update. So I don't think the fact that it's in beta, you may have to have iOS 26.2 to use this, but the two things are not necessarily connected. So I feel like, I don't know, we're still a long way from what we're asking.
It feels like that. Let me know. I'm still waiting on a reply back from an email too, because I was literally asked the team, like, here's how I do the show. I do everything that you have set up. I do the subscriber audio. We have the subscription in Apple Podcasts. I did everything you want. How do I get chapters in my subscriber audio now with these new features?
And just to be clear, and obviously we've spent more than 5 minutes on this, but we're still not at an hour, so we're gonna
move on.
I want the last word on this. Apple, we're paying you 30% to do this.
That is true.
We are paying you. We are your customers, and our listeners are our members, and we are paying you 30% of what they're giving us. So please, just make it better.
Just stop stripping chapters.
Actually, don't make it better. Just stop doing anything.
Just stop doing anything.
Just let it go.
Just leave it alone. Anyway, we're about to do some ads. So here's what you're going to do. Go to join.primarytech.fm. That's joining and supporting the show through Memberful. You get an ad-free version of the show. You get our bonus episodes. You get Primary Tech Daily. There's going to be more benefits in the future. And you get chapters when you support at join.primarytech.fm. So go there. Join there. You can also support us directly on Apple Podcasts. It will be ad-free. I don't know what chapters you'll see, if any. I have no idea. And so, you let me know. But let's take a quick break. This episode is brought to you by Zapier, and I've been using Zapier for years and years. I actually just set up some new Zaps the other day to automate things for this podcast, for my Circle communities, and more. And now Zapier is doing even more with AI. And again, I use AI in a bunch of shortcuts, Apple Intelligence, helping me to summarize things, give me ideas for titles and descriptions and more. And Zapier is where tech innovators break the hype cycle and put AI to work for real. One of the Zaps I just recently set up was I wanted Jason's articles and my videos to go into our Circle community. And Zapier can not only pull from RSS feeds, but I can actually format the post that goes into those communities and other places in HTML, so I can embed my video, pull the thumbnail images from Jason's article, and I can do all of that with Zapier, and it's posting it deeply into that Circle community. It also works with Slack, which I've used before. So you post a video on YouTube, it automatically gets shared to a Slack channel with a comment or caption. Super powerful. Zapier is how you bring the power of AI to your work and not just talk about it. With Zapier's AI orchestration platform, you can bring the power of AI to any workflow. Connect top AI models like ChatGPT and Claude to the tools your team already uses, so you can add AI exactly where you need it, whether that's AI-powered workflows, an autonomous agent, a customer chatbot, or something else. orchestrate with Zapier. If you used Zapier a long time ago, or maybe you just haven't logged in a while because the Zaps have just been running in the background, which I have to say is super reliable. I never have to go back and check on my Zaps. I know they're just working all the time. But Zapier is for everyone, tech expert or not. No IT bottlenecks, no complexity, no AI hype, just results. So teams have already automated over 300 million AI tasks using Zapier. Are you ready to join them? Well, get started for free by visiting zapier.com/primary. That's zapier.com/primary. I've been using it for years. I have multiple accounts where I've set up Zaps. You should definitely try it. Zapier.com/primary. That link is also in the show notes. And this episode is also brought to you by Masterclass. I love watching Masterclass content over the years, whether it was for music, for cooking, negotiation, and communication skills. Masterclass has something for everyone. One of my favorite was Chris Voss in The Art of Negotiation. I read his book, but honestly, seeing the masterclass and having him talk about it on screen so you can learn about communication both in the workplace, in your family, when you're trying to have, critical conversations, it was just incredible to see him in the masterclass, and I felt like I learned even more. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best. And with plans starting at just $10 a month, billed annually, you can get unlimited access to over 200 plus classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, and more. And with Masterclass, you get thousands of bite-sized lessons across 13 categories that can fit into even the busiest schedules. And again, one of the ones that me and my wife actually enjoyed watching together was the Yo-Yo Ma about music and creativity. I also loved watching Hans Zimmer. And so if you're wanting to learn something, Masterclass is great. Or if you're just wanting kind of a edutainment or something to be actually watch in the evening with someone, me and my wife, we just really enjoyed watching Yo-Yo Ma talk about music. It's something we're passionate about, and we felt like we were learning something as we were enjoying watching it. Beautiful cinematography, and you can watch it both on your iPhone, Mac, the Apple TV has an app, and on your phone you can switch between video and audio mode, so you can start listening to it like it's a podcast. Classes really make a difference, and classes really make a difference. 3 in 4 surveyed members feel inspired every time they watch Masterclass. Plus, new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/primarytech. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/primarytech. One more time, masterclass.com/primarytech. The link is also in the show notes. Our thanks to Masterclass for sponsoring this episode. And finally, Shopify. I have built lots of websites over the years. I've used various platforms, but if you're trying to build an e-commerce platform or just sell stuff online, Shopify is the way to do it. It makes it easy to build and create even if you have no coding knowledge or website building experience, and it makes it easy for your customers to buy it because the Shopify interface is super familiar, works everywhere, and for millions of businesses, the tool that helps them run their e-commerce is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started, all use Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates, and Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. Accelerate your content creation and get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And I just sent out pins for this show. Shipping can be a challenge, so let Shopify handle all of that. Turn your big business idea into sales with Shopify on your side. Sign up for $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/primary. Go to shopify.com/primary. Start your website, start your business, shopify.com/primary. That link is also in the show notes. Our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. I think the reason why they're not listening to us, Jason, is because they're going to pay Google $1 billion a year for Gemini, and we're not close to the $1 billion value.
I mean,
that they provide.
Let's be honest. If we were making $1 billion a year from this podcast, I don't really care about chapters anymore.
Yes. I will
buy all of our members a chapter at that point, whatever that means.
I will handwrite the chapters and timestamps and mail them to you every week
with a pin.
With a pin for $1 billion. So Mark Gurman broke this at Bloomberg. This has been rumored for a long time, but it looks like Apple is nearing a deal, signing with Google to use Gemini in the background for the voice assistant on iPhone. And what it seems like it'll be is a version of Google's AI, whether it's called Gemini or not, is going to run on private cloud compute on Apple servers. So data and privacy is still maintained, but you get a better voice assistant experience. And, I was joking on social media last night at midnight, which I should stop tweeting at midnight. But it's funny because like right now you can ask the voice assistant on your iPhone using ChatGPT, do this. And like Siri will do that. Like it will actually call out to OpenAI. And so I'm curious with this deal. This is probably not going to how it's work, but if you could be like, hey, Dingus, say, okay, Google, ask OpenAI, ChatGPT this, which is not going to be that. It's just going to be like Gemini in the background doing the processing. You'll probably never see the word Gemini or Google anywhere in the iPhone interface. You probably won't see it in the Apple Intelligence settings, but it's going to make for a better voice assistant, we hope. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and the distinction here is, unlike the ChatGPT integration, this is not Apple adding a Google Gemini integration. This is Apple taking a version of Gemini, white labeling it, and running it on their own server. So they're basically saying, you guys did all this work, hand it over to us, and we would like to make some change. Like, we're going to tweak it for our purposes, and then we're going to use it to power this. So for all intents and purposes, this is just going to be like whatever Siri is. It's kind of like when they bought the company that created Siri in the first place. They didn't say this is Siri powered by whatever that.
No. Here's my question. My question to you. So the direct parallel is when the iPhone launched, it was Google Maps by default. It didn't say Google Maps under the app on the original iPhone. It just said Maps. And when you opened the Maps app, you didn't see the words Google anywhere, but it was Google Maps in the back end. And I didn't look in the keynote, but I imagine Steve Jobs said like powered by Google Maps in that first announcement, and then probably never mentioned Google Maps ever again until Apple Maps was launched, and then they still wouldn't have mentioned it. They would just talk about Apple Maps. Do you think, if and when this comes out, whether it's a newsroom press release or some virtual Apple event, will they say A, powered by Google, B, powered by Gemini, or C, nothing? And just say Siri's better.
They will not say anything. The only reason that they would is if they thought they had to convince people that it was going to be better, but they don't. It's just on your phone. Like, they don't have to convince you. Like, it has you can't just call out to, I can't just pick up my phone and be like, hey, OpenAI. I have to do something first if I want to talk to ChatGPT, but I can pick up my phone and just be like, hey, Dingus, right? Like, it's so they don't have to convince you that it's going to be better. It would be great if it was better. And if it is, it'll just become the default flow. They're not going to say anything. And I'm not sure that it's the exact same parallel. I think it's pretty close, but I think that this is even because Google had a Maps app that already existed at the time, right? And so they were using it to basically, they were just white labeling the Google. This is like, what if they just took Google's mapping engine and put it into Apple Maps? So I feel like it's actually even a little bit different than that. So in that case, like, I don't think they minded saying this is Google, because they had YouTube, but it didn't say YouTube on the app icon. It was just like a TV or something like that, right?
I think it said YouTube.
I think the title of it said YouTube.
Yeah, the title said YouTube,
but the icon
TV.
Itself was just something Apple made. It was just a random thing. So.
Yeah, if listeners and viewers don't remember, YouTube was literally a default app on the iPhone that was just there when you first open it up.
One of the first 16. Yep.
Yeah, well, first 16. Now, Mark Gurman's also saying that Apple is still working on its own LLMs to one day take over this. They're just going to be using this Gemini deal in the meantime to get the voice assistant better. I imagine there's going to have to be some campaign from Apple to tell users, hey, it's better now. Like, they're not going to make this change behind the scenes and then not talk about it. And not just like in a newsroom article into the press, but like writ large. Like, there's got to be some kind of announcement, I would imagine, or event.
I mean, they still have all those ads with Snoop Dogg talking about Siri, so I'm sure they're just going to.
Are those still going?
Again. I know, but I'm saying they made them.
Oh yeah.
They're sitting in a drawer somewhere, and they'll pull them out. And
Play them
put
again.
them back on the just run it back. Let's go.
Run it back. Just find and replace 16 for 17 for the iPhone 17, and you're good to go. So we'll see. I'm excited to try it whenever it comes out. Supposedly the rumor was iOS 26.4 might be when this like updated assistant launches, but we'll see. We'll see if all the promises they made at Dub almost 2 years ago will come to fruition. A couple other quick bits. Apple launched the App Store on the web. For the first time, there's now like an official web app of the App Store. You can search for apps. You can browse by platform. This is interesting. I guess if you just want to browse them. I don't know. What is this for, Jason?
Well, what are they doing? Like, what? Yeah, something else is coming. What? I don't know what this, I don't quite understand. Do they feel like, because you can't download things.
You can share it. That's it.
I mean, you could do that from your iPhone or from the Mac App Store. Like, you could share app links. You could do the same thing. I don't know what the difference is here. So are they bringing the App Store? Like, is this? I don't know. I don't get it because the devices that you want to download things to all have app stores, right? No, I mean like your
I know.
The Vision Pro, the watch has an app store. So I don't fully know what this is for.
I think it might be because if you were to like click on an app, like an iPhone app link, but on your Mac, if it's not in the Mac App Store, it wouldn't open in the App Store. It would just open in the web. And the web interface, like if there was like this weird page when you would look at a Mac app on the web. And so maybe this is just to make the experience better, I guess, if you click an app link and you're on a desktop computer. But, Apple also launched, not to get back into it, Apple Podcasts on the web. I'm very curious how many people actually use that. Like, so on a Windows PC or Android phone, you can go to podcast.apple.com and just play podcasts. You can create an account. You can have a library and follow shows. Who uses it on the web? I'm not sure, but it's out there. It exists.
No, but that at least makes sense. Like
it makes sense.
You can do Netflix on the web, right? So you can consume content in a web browser. Makes sense. This is not consuming content. It's just reading about content.
That's fair. All right. Let me. We'll go a little fast, but we'll see what warrants more time or whatever. I just want to bring this up. This happened after we recorded last week's show, but YouTube TV lost.
Steven, you have to explain why this is important to you.
This is important to me because literally last Thursday night, I was at my mom's house. She has an over-the-air antenna, so she can watch some local channels every once in a while, and it keeps glitching out. We don't know why. Antennas are, finicky. And so literally Thursday night, I was like, you know what, Mom? I'm going to sign up for YouTube Live TV. It's shared. You can actually share it amongst your family. So like I pay for YouTube Premium, and like my mom's Google account gets it and my wife's Google account. YouTube TV is the same way. So I could pay for it and like I could watch it at home on my Google account. My mom can. So she got the local channels. It was happy. You don't have to deal with this over-the-air antenna anymore. And then Friday morning, it was like, oh yeah, you don't get ABC anymore with YouTube Live TV because they couldn't land the deal. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if I'll stick with it, but didn't this happen before and they like renegotiated and eventually came back?
Well, listen, they always renegotiate before all of the games on Saturday, all of the NFL games on Sunday, and Monday Night Football.
Right.
Monday Night Football was insane. But this just tells you the power balance. I mean, ESPN basically was holding on to the cojones of all the cable companies.
Right.
But Google just doesn't care. Like Google has all the leverage because YouTube TV is less than a rounding error on Google's financials. It makes zero difference. Like it doesn't make. They have 10 million subscribers, which is not nothing, but it's like but for Disney makes something like $10 per subscriber for ESPN. I think per month. It's a big deal to suddenly start losing $1 billion of revenue because you don't have. I mean, YouTube TV no longer has the ESPN on it or whatever. So Disney's going to have to do. I mean, ESPN is the reason your cable bill is insane, right? It just is.
Right.
It's ESPN, and the problem is every cable company wants ESPN because that's where all the sports were. But Disney will tell you if you want ESPN, you also have to pay for Freeform and like all these other random channels that no one cares about. Right. You've got to buy them all if you want ESPN. And I think that is starting to break apart. The other interesting point here is Disney, however, has another incentive too. And I haven't really seen anybody talk about this, but Disney owns a cable TV streaming service, Hulu with Live TV, right? And guess where you can watch ESPN on Hulu with Live TV. And so it's such a weird power dynamic there.
Right. And I will say, so your two options, like if you want Live TV, I think there's also Sling TV. I didn't consider that just because.
Well, there's Fubo.
Okay, yeah.
No, I mean, a lot of people like Fubo. I say that.
A lot of people like Fubo. I know. But I was either between Hulu Live TV and YouTube Live TV. And I chose incorrectly last Thursday, I guess. But they both cost $1,000. Let's be clear. Like they're both $100 a month or whatever. But YouTube Live TV also has almost double the subscribers, just as context. Like YouTube Live TV has 8 million subscribers. Hulu Live TV has like 4.6 million subscribers. So there's that context. I don't know. I mean, I imagine it's going to come back to YouTube TV once they figure this out. But also, Warner Brothers up for sale. Like, if you want to listen to all like the Warner Brothers stuff, like obviously Nilay Patel is hilarious and on the Verge cast talking about that. But Disney, Apple, Netflix, supposedly all in the running to purchase Warner Brothers and the IP, which includes DC Comics. And I saw this one meme on TikTok of like the Mickey Mouse with the Infinity Gauntlet, and it has like Marvel, Star Wars, whatever. Like if Disney buys Warner Brothers, it's going to have everything. It's going to have DC, Marvel, Star Wars, all the things. But Apple's also interested and Netflix too, so we'll see. And Warner Brothers has like been bought and sold I don't know, a dozen times in the last 50 years.
Yeah, we definitely don't have time to get into that. I
No.
will just tell you that Hulu with live TV, which the interface is trash compared to YouTube TV.
That's
YouTube
why I went
TV
with
is-
YouTube TV. It's so much
But
better.
if you already pay for Disney Plus, you'll save about $15 a month if you sign up for Hulu with live TV, because you get Disney Plus with the bundle. There's a bundle that they offer.
Yeah.
Because this is why I switched. I would much prefer YouTube TV. I was paying $94 a month for YouTube TV for like the 4K version or whatever the heck it is. But I was also paying like $15 a month to Verizon for some reason for the Disney Plus bundle that included ESPN Plus or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Now with the bundle that we pay $95 a month to Hulu, we get all that stuff. So it may be worth looking at.
I'm waiting for the day that AT&T figures out that I still get HBO Max for free because of whatever weird deal AT&T.
You and Nilay Patel both, both get it for free.
I just get it free. I would not pay for HBO Max because I never go into it now anymore. But yeah, there's that. What? We don't have time to get into it.
Well, I'll tell you, we get Paramount Plus for free because we sign up for Walmart Plus, whatever. Like you do, you get it. Like
you get a Paramount.
You get a
Plus for
free. Actually, you get to choose whether you want Peacock or Paramount Plus for a year if you sign up for Walmart Plus. And I will just tell you that was not a difficult decision because it's not an Olympic year, so nobody needs
Right.
Peacock.
Right. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. Some different AI news. This is kind of funny. Amazon is in both of them. So OpenAI strikes a deal with Amazon to use Amazon's AWS NVIDIA chips to help train OpenAI. This is not, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, Amazon's going to let OpenAI train on like Amazon shopping? No, not the case.
No.
This is OpenAI just being able to use the compute power through AWS as long as it's running. Joke. Because AWS was down last week. So they struck that deal. And meanwhile, just for another funny one, Amazon is mad at Perplexity because Amazon is tired of Perplexity AI and the Comet browser letting people buy stuff on Amazon through the agentic software. And so Amazon is shaking hands with OpenAI over here and mad at Perplexity on this side. I thought that was just a funny juxtaposition. But,
Well, and just to be sorry,
yeah.
I don't want to spend too much time on this. The one thing that's important about the distinction here, so the OpenAI thing, basically OpenAI wants to just be in business with every single person, right?
Yeah, that.
But I mean that sincerely. Also, because of that puts them in like the killer position. Because if you think about it, like Amazon has its own, Microsoft is using OpenAI, right? You have Google. Really, Google is the one that makes a difference. But Google has its own stack up and down, and it can control its own destiny. But OpenAI does not have its own server farms in the same way. They're using Microsoft Azure for that, but now they're also diversifying with Amazon. I do actually believe that OpenAI runs some stuff on Google Cloud Compute. I'm not for sure on that. I think that's true. But like the point is they need to be everywhere so that they are not wholly, indebted to like Microsoft like they were. They're trying to get on. Now the Perplexity thing is different because Perplexity is literally just like a search engine, an AI search engine thing. Like Perplexity doesn't make its own models.
But Amazon is mad about Comet specifically because Comet is like making purchases for people or like putting stuff in the cart. And Amazon doesn't like that because they want human eyeballs on the you might also like. Or, right now when I check out on Amazon in the app on my phone, I cannot get to the cart without first seeing Amazon grocery options. And do you want a 12-pack of Zevia at 4 p.m. today? And I say, you know what? I actually would. But I don't want to see that because I don't want to.
I guess all I meant was like OpenAI is sort of like, Amazon's the Death Star, I guess. That's the only possible thing.
Let me write this down.
I don't know what OpenAI is because they're certainly not like the rebels or whatever. But my point is Perplexity is like an Ewok, like one Ewok comparatively to Amazon or OpenAI. It's not the same.
Right. It is much smaller. Now I do want to run a parallel of who is what.
Okay,
AI
we're going to have to think about this.
In the Star Wars universe. Or Marvel. Sometimes it's easier to think about it like Marvel Universe because you have like different... Like Perplexity is like Ant-Man. Maybe. We can't get into it. Listen, if you want to make some fan art for the show and give us AI companies as Marvel heroes, please do.
We did tech executives as Marvel characters once. It would be interesting to just do the AI companies. But my point is Perplexity, not in the same category as OpenAI. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's all it is. They're trying. And I still use Comet every day to subscribe to I can't even speak. My one use case for Comet every day is to publish the subscriber audio for Primary Tech Daily, because it makes me babysit that publish button. Anyway,
so when you're a member, if you sign up as a member through the Apple Podcast app, when you hear this episode, you'll know that Comet was involved.
It literally was. I literally just say, Comet, watch this publish button, wait for Apple Podcast to process this MP3, and then
you know what would make it so
button.
you didn't have to use that? If they just stopped processing that audio and just let it play.
Why are you trying to get me started? I said I wouldn't go in
I'm
out.
sorry.
Anyway, I'm not going to get into
this. Our listeners appreciate it when I do this. I promise.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Literally, that's the only thing they ever say. We really like how the other guy riles up Steven.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's in half the reviews. The other news, we have Spotify talked about all the video podcasts. There's nearly 500,000 video podcasts, 400 million users watch. Again, these are like the stats that you hear about video podcasts. 400 million users watch video podcast. The real data, like I would be curious, how many minutes are watched of video podcasts on Spotify versus how many listened versus Apple Podcasts. But overall, like when it comes to creator tools, Spotify, I think when it comes to video, has outpaced Apple, because as a creator, Spotify supports the RSS feed, pulls in our audio episode, and then I can go into Spotify, upload the video, and now someone on Spotify can watch or listen to the show, and it's really easy to do as a creator. They provide all the metrics or whatever. Like, yeah, Apple.
All I'm going to say about this is I don't even know what these numbers mean with Spotify, because you can't put in an AirPod without a video playing on Spotify. Like you open the app and video will start playing. Like you try to find a song and a video just starts playing. It is literally trying to be TikTok in almost every single way. So like the fact, this is like when Meta's or when Instagram, Adam Mosseri gets on there and he's like, we've noticed that people like to watch. Well, yeah, you made it the default thing you see when you open the app. Of course, people are watching a lot of reels. That doesn't mean any of us want that there. So the Spotify is the same thing. It's like if you go to a podcast, by default it wants to start playing the video. So yes video is up 50% or whatever it is, but I'm not sure. I just don't
auto
know
plays on the home tab.
Yeah, I just don't know that that's like when you go to this is a trip, go through your recently watched on YouTube and you're like, I never watched any of those. If your mouse cursor hovered over it for more than a second and a half, you watched it.
Yeah. Side note, I posted this on social media, but I thought it was interesting. More and more people watching YouTube on their actual TV. And I will say, like, when we sit down as a family, if we're going to watch something for like 10 minutes, we just go to YouTube and we just find something there. And so when it comes to like
TV
watching, yes.
The only YouTube we ever watch on our television is if we stay home and decide to watch church online. No. We just watch the live stream on YouTube. That's it.
Really? There's a lot of great
on our
content
TV?
on well, because usually we don't have time to watch like an hour-long something or a 2-hour movie. So it's like we have 15 minutes before we go to bed. Let's watch something together. And YouTube is like king of like the 15-minute Dude Perfect or whatever. So they're funny. I like that.
All right.
Stuff. The kids like it. Nintendo, I downloaded this app right before we started recording. There's now a Nintendo Shop app, a Nintendo Store app on the iPhone. So you can actually buy hardware, quote unquote, and there's a caveat to this, in this app. Nice that they have this app, because sometimes browsing the web for like Nintendo stuff has been kind of janky. But here's the thing. I actually tried buying something like a game. And this is the Nintendo app on the iPhone. If you wanted to buy something like Donkey Kong Banana, I probably said that funny. Donkey Kong Bonanza. If you wanted to do it, you have to continue to product page, and then it just sends you over to a web view. No, thank you. I'm done. I don't need a web. Like if you're going to make an app, let the app actually do it. And I don't know if that's because of like the Apple's 30% cut.
Yeah, 100%. That's what this is for.
Okay, well, what about hardware? I should be able to buy hardware, right?
Well, because hardware, they don't take a cut on real world goods.
I know what I'm saying. So let me try to buy this Virtual Boy.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that.
Nope, web view. Boo. Anyway, you can browse stuff easier, I guess, but you still have to go to the web to buy it. So there's that. So I'm gonna fun now. Apple Podcast just got me all worked up. So now I'm just like, we're doing hot takes on everything. Boo on that. Boo on this too. Sora app is now on Android. I don't know. I've not opened the Sora app since we've talked about it on the show, because I just don't want to see it. But I see Sora videos everywhere. I see it on TikTok. I see it on Instagram. I literally was, before I signed her up for YouTube, or before I was paying for it, but YouTube TV for my mom, I was showing her some AI-generated videos on TikTok. I was like, Mom, do you know if this is real or not? She's like, oh, yeah, I guess. She's like, no. I was like, no. It's all AI-generated video, Mom. Don't let it fool you. So, yeah, Sora's now on Android, so there's probably going to be even more AI video out there.
Amazing. This is what the world needs.
I keep seeing weird videos of Sam Altman too. Like he always makes an AI video of himself when there's like an announcement. I'm like, stop doing that. I don't like that. I don't know. How do you feel? How do you feel like as you see AI generated content from like creators or people you know? How does that feel to you?
I don't know, but the experience I keep having. So my oldest daughter and I frequently will send back and forth. Like she'll see an Instagram reel, and she's the only person in the world who does this is my high school senior daughter, and it's usually like either soccer highlights that are like insane because she plays soccer, or she has a healthy infatuation with like Highland cows and dogs of any kind. Okay. Right.
I had no idea what was about to come after.
Yeah,
that.
I know. So she will send them to me or I will send them. And so yesterday there was a video that was going around and this is actually a weird, totally digression, but we won't go down this, whereas I saw it on Threads, and in Threads, you can send a video on Threads to somebody through Instagram's messaging. Right. My daughter's not on Threads. So I did that, but unfortunately she couldn't watch it because it wanted her to sign up for a Threads account to actually watch it. It doesn't take the video's on your server, Meta. Just take the video and put it in the DM.
And they're literally putting Threads in Instagram. Like I literally see Threads posts in the Instagram feed.
But you have to, if you tap on them, they take you back to
Threads.
Over to so Threads, it's insane. But anyway, the video was a cat and two dogs. And there's this like obstacle course of balloons, and like the cat goes through the first goes around the first one and then just jumps over the rest of them. Like the cat lost its patience. The second dog, careful. The third one was a corgi, and I found it. Hold on. So the first one, the cat goes carefully through. The first one is like, forget this. And then the second one, the little dog, he goes through the whole thing and he just carefully walks.
Very conscientious.
And then the corgi's like, screw it, you only live once. And he's just like eating all the balloons, literally. So anyway, I sent this to her, and her first question to me is that AI?
Yeah, I was just
not
about to ask that. Yeah.
Not like that's AI, but like, is that AI? And I think that's sad that some of the entertaining things, because that's not entertaining to me if that's AI.
Correct.
It's not. It's only entertaining because it's like, oh, the dog. Like that's the personality of a dog.
But what's angering is, if you don't know and you just watch it, it could be entertaining. But if you watch it with the context that it's AI, it's less entertaining. And I hate that that's even a question, like that's even something that happens in our mind. Because I also don't want to spend the time watching that if it's AI.
Right. I don't want to give anything to. Now there are some AI videos that are just insanely funny, like, and they're clearly AI.
They have the Sora thing.
I
know, but like I hate that I even laughed at that. Only like I don't know why it just doesn't.
Yeah, it's not the same. I agree with you. I don't want to see Sora videos. If I want to see them, I'll open the Sora app. And guess what? I don't ever open the Sora.
It's weird. There is one video, I forget what the clip is or the concert, but it's an old video of like some lead singer of a band crowd surfing, like being held on the shoulders of, or like standing on the shoulders of fans, and someone throws him a beer and he like literally catches the beer and drinks it and then throws the cup away. It's like the most epic moment or whatever in a concert. And the caption is like, imagine explaining to your kids that this was before AI.
Yeah.
Like you just wouldn't believe it. And it's like, of all the advancements that these companies are making in AI, I wish that a content ID system that was pervasive and thorough and obvious would be the next thing that just comes out. That Meta and TikTok can just know that something's AI generated and just put the tag on there. But I also don't know if they're incentivized to do that because it might lower engagement. So I don't know. Speaking of TikTok is holding an awards show in California. And yeah, there are a bunch of categories that they're going to award: Creator of the Year, Breakthrough Artist of the Year. Spoiler, no, I am not among the nominees. I did not make the Creator Award show. But now you could be a TGOT. You can get the TikTok Award, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. You could be a TGOT now if you win a TikTok Award. I don't know. I thought that was fun.
I don't even have the TikTok app on my phone, so I don't know what else to say. I don't know who any of those people are. I'm like,
you don't know Keith Lee, the food guy?
I don't know any of these people are, but I just think like the way you said that about that, I'm like, okay, but there is a world of credibility that comes from winning an Emmy or Grammy or an Oscar or a Tony Award. And so winning all of them, winning all of them, there are only a very small handful of people who have done that. And I think even fewer of them are performers. There's like some producers or whatever. But I also think to myself, like, does being the TikTok creator, like, is that the thing you want to tell your kids? Like, you guys, I was TikTok Creator of the Year 2025.
I mean, for your kids, yeah, there's probably some cachet there. If it's
Maybe.
still
Okay, that's a good point. This just shows how old I am. But even my kids will be like, they'll talk all the time and they're like, talking about, man, how cool it must be to be like on YouTube or something. I'm like, I do a YouTube show every week. And they're like, nah, that's not real, Dad. Like, you do a podcast and we don't care. And the fact that it's on YouTube is just incidental. That's basically what they're saying to me.
Okay. Well, you should just turn around and tell her, I got more subscribers than you do.
Well, this is true, but that's because they don't have YouTube accounts.
Well,
I bet you that my children, hands down, if they did, they would have more subscribers than us, Steven.
It's a tough business. It's a tough business. I don't know. You can challenge them on it.
I think it's easier to be a high school student and generate a bunch of subscribers if you could find an interesting,
But they're also all trying to do it. They're also all trying to do it.
That's true. Good point.
And the only thing the TikTok awards, whatever, it's kind of funny. But I will say, like, the idea of creator being like a thing. I saw Andrew Edwards, a YouTuber, met him at DubDub. He's a great guy. He actually spoke at this Forbes Creator Upfront thing, and it's not like an awards show or whatever, but it's very clear that like Time Magazine, Forbes, like legacy media and new media like TikTok are more and more like highlighting creators as like a thing. And so it's just an interesting phenomenon, like this, just in the last 5-10 years, like creator is now a thing. And
well, and it was a thing for a long time. Like John Gruber was one of the original quote creators. He was a blogger, right? Like we think of creators as you have to be video, but it has been a thing for a very long time. We just gave it this word, and it's kind of like the sophisticated version of influencer is a creator, right? And it's just like, but the point is, why is being someone like a John Gruber such a good business? I mean, it's not that it's easy. He has to write all the time, but there is such a low margin of cost to do that, right? It literally it only costs you your time plus web hosting. And John Gruber has not changed the design of his site in 20 years, so he didn't have to pay for that, right? Like, so, and that's fine. But my point is, like, it is a thing you can do. It is one of the few things you can truly turn from a hobby into a business. We don't make a ton of money from this show, but as long as we're willing to put in the time, we don't have to pay for other than shipping pins. We don't have to pay for like a bunch of stuff to do this, right? Our production cost is very low. And so I don't know. I can understand why, like Forbes, it's a business model, right? Like it is a very profitable business model if you can figure it out, and also if you get lucky. Like, let's not underestimate that part of it.
For sure. And I will say, Nilay on last week's Verge cast, he was pretty down on like the creator economy. He felt like the creator economy is like a bubble like AI, and that it's going to collapse soon. He was approaching it more from like most creators you see on TikTok or Instagram are basically like home shopping network channels, where they're either like it's all brand deals or mostly brand deals or mostly like affiliate type revenue. And so it feels like you're just being sold a lot of stuff. And he's saying that's not sustainable or whatever, because creators are under the weight of pressure through, advertisers and stuff. I am less pessimistic about it, because I'm now entering that world like full time. And so obviously I would have made the decision if I was pessimistic about it. But I also feel like there is a counter force to that, where while brand deals and how you make money as a creator might be like under some reform soon, I think there's also the other wave of like AI generated content and trusted voices, and people wanting trusted voices to go to for all topics and genres. And that, I think, is going to be a harder push for people to want to find those creators. And however creators have to innovate to actually make it a business, paid communities, like that's kind of what I'm betting on. And I think that is a little more sustainable. Like, I think that is a counterforce. I don't think it's all just like advertisers are going to kill the creator economy. I think the creator economy is multifaceted, and that idea of trust and authority amongst AI slop and other things, I think actually bodes better for creators than not. So I'll just take an opposite position of that. Nilay, if you want to have me on Decoder, I'd love to talk to you.
Well, and I think that the take from his perspective is, if you look at where the value is created, but who's capturing the value, the creator economy is actually pretty terrible in some ways, because speaking specifically about YouTube, right? YouTube pays $0 for you to post a video to that, and then they will split the ads with you.
Right.
And the value that you bring is far greater on an every individual basis than the value that's created. But you're not capturing the amount of value that you could in a different type of a business model.
For sure.
And that's why I think it's a bubble. And so the incentive there for people is to just simply show as many ads or show as much branded content. And if your incentive becomes like, well, I have to get brand deals, then it changes your credibility and it changes the way. So like it's complicated.
It's complicated.
I just think from a pure numbers perspective that if you are able to, it has a much larger upside possibility at a lower cost structure than most businesses.
Correct. And the YouTube split for ad revenue is like even worse than Apple's. I think it's like 65-35 or whatever. So like YouTube takes even more, but the idea that you can build this business with your phone and nothing else is, that's something.
And never have to try to find an advertiser.
That part. I will say maybe blogging is coming back. I just saw Justine post this yesterday that she wrote a blog and she put it on her website. And so I don't know, maybe blogging will come back. I'd be down for that.
Nice.
I mean, you write, but
I write.
I don't know if you would do another blog.
I'm a fan of writing.
I approve of writing. I wanted to, lastly, before we get to personal tech, which is going to be Apple Watch bands, which I'm actually excited about. That might go on another 30 minutes. AI had their Max conference, and there's a bunch of AI.
Adobe had their Max conference.
Adobe had their, what did I say? AI?
You said AI had their Max conference. It was basically, but I just wanted to be clear who it was.
No, thank you. Adobe had their Max conference, and after, again, hearing some other podcasts talk about it, I do want to point out, like, when it comes to using AI for good or for productive reasons, and again, this kind of sliding scale, it does feel like Adobe is secretly like doing the work. And up until this point, I never said this like explicitly when I was working for Riverside, because Riverside kind of had a competing feature. But like, if you ever have audio that is messed up because of background noise or whatever, Adobe's podcast enhancement tool using AI is the best out there. I have given it literal like garbage. Like I've given it like a Ziploc bag that was sitting at the bottom of the trash can, and it can come out with like a pristine podcast episode. I don't know how it does it. And in the Adobe Max conference, they played this example of someone recording audio with like train bells behind, or a drawbridge sound behind them, like loud bells. And Adobe's latest tools for like audio cleanup can literally isolate those bells, remove it from, like, crazy what it can do. And so that times all the tools in Photoshop. And some of it is like, again, fixing the audio or fixing your photos and videos is one thing, but there's also a bunch of tools to generate. And so like this example in The Verge, it's like, here's this image of a model, change it to have her wear something different, change the background, change what they're holding. Pretty impressive. I mean, if you think about like a photo shoot for a fashion brand, if you got a bunch of actual photos of these models, but then you wanted to like change what they were doing or change the background, just to be able to do that with a prompt in Photoshop is pretty wild. It's AI generated, I guess. Like, I don't know. Would you consider that AI generated?
It's not really generated. It is that maybe we need another word for AI edited or assisted or something like that. Because I mean, Lightroom's denoise is incredibly good, but that's not AI generated. It is actually generating what should be where those pixels are, but it's like an AI. And I have a take about this. It'll be short.
Please.
But I think that the best use cases of AI are doing things that you know what the outcome should be, but you don't know how to use the tools to do it. Or you do know how to use the tools to do it, but your time is better spent doing other things. So for example, you didn't mention it, but the single best thing that Adobe announced is in Photoshop. Photoshop will now automatically rename all your layers.
Right. That's the best.
Here's the thing. You might have hundreds of layers in some Photoshop files, and it's just in garbage to look at them to try to figure out which layers, and it will just automatically do that. It'll look at them and it will decide what they are, and then it will rename them. Yeah, I could do that. I don't have time to do that. And guess what? Someone might not know how to do that.
Right.
Some of these features.
Or not have the time.
Yeah, but they know what it should be. And so that's, in my mind, and the same thing is true with even like just using ChatGPT. I can say to ChatGPT, do some research on this thing, right? And I can but I know when I'm looking at it, what the research should actually look like at the end. It's just saving me a bunch of time. And I'm like, that's not quite right. So giving that tool to like a high school student and be like, research the Civil War, bad idea, because they don't know what the outcome should be, right? So I think that the best use cases of AI are not like, you can now do a thing that's just, blue sky. You have no idea what there should be. Like, that's a dangerous use of it because you don't know the difference between a hallucination and whatever. But in this way, it just becomes a tool, just like every computer is a tool that can help you do so. So I think it's best used for people who don't know how to do a thing with the tools, but know what the outcome should be, or people that do know how to use the tools, but their time is better spent doing something else.
That's, I think, a great take. I'm curious, when you do research with ChatGPT, you're saying you know what the outcome should be, but part of that research, I imagine, would be facts and figures that you didn't know before. How do you decide when to fact check the numbers and figures?
Okay, so I did this recently for Apple's earnings, right? I wanted to know, I download the press release, I download the financial documents. I do this every time any of these. I don't always write about it, but I do it every single time. And then I take the transcript from the analyst call. Okay. And I put all those things into ChatGPT and I say, start giving me, summarize this, start giving me some information. And in the meantime, I might start reading what CNBC had to say or the Wall Street Journal or whatever like that. But I don't necessarily have time to just randomly read through an entire transcript from an earnings call. Or in this case, I didn't have time to actually listen to it. Sometimes I do listen to them, but it'll surface some things. And then I'll go to the transcript and I'll read about that, right? So I know, oh, that's interesting. Let me read what they were talking about when it came to this. And in this particular case, I wrote about the fact that Tim Cook kept talking about AI, but AI is not the thing, right? The services, the real story was that the services business was over $100 billion in revenue for the first time in a year. And so then I'm able to ask ChatGPT some questions about that transcript or about the actual financials. And I'll say, give me some other sources or what other people saying about this. And I can go read those. The same things you might do with Google.
Right.
The advantage that I have by using ChatGPT to do that is it actually now has the full corpus of that information in that chat that we're talking about. So when I'm asking it questions, it remembers the previous things we've talked about. And then when I'm done writing my article, so I still do that part on my own, I will then take my article and I will put it back into the same chat and I will say, please fact check this and check it for any errors, typos, or grammar mistakes.
Interesting.
And it is able to then take all the information, including the transcript of the earnings call, the actual financial statements, Apple's press release. It can fact check those things, and it can also do it on the internet. But that way it just makes sure, did I transpose numbers? Did I do whatever?
Right.
So
no, that's good. Okay. All right. That's interesting. You should do a video on that.
I've been thinking seriously lately about starting a YouTube channel, Steven. It's
EDC,
dangerous.
but only everyday carries.
I'm going to do everyday carries every day. This is what I carried today.
This is what I carried today. All right, let's do personal tech. You had said someone emailed about Apple Watch bands?
Yeah, so I got an email from a listener of ours,
Yes.
and this person referenced a conversation that I don't think that we actually had, which is okay. Hang on, I was trying to find the actual email that they sent us. They sent me, which was basically something along the lines of, there are no fashionable Apple Watch bands. And I don't remember you and I having this conversation, but that's okay. I appreciate the person who sent it. I can forward it to you real quick just so that you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I don't really care about fashionable Apple Watch bands, but it did make me think hey, let's talk about what Apple Watch bands are you using? Which ones do you like on a regular basis? How often do you switch your Apple Watch bands? How many, do you have? Do you have a lot of third-party bands? That kind of stuff.
I typically go first party on most bands. When looking for dressy type bands, I did get this one. I think I saw it in an Instagram ad. It's from a company called Vario, Vario. And it's this gray tweed material. And I actually think it looks nice, especially if you're trying to dress up an Apple Watch. So that's a third-party one I have. And they sent this to me maybe a year ago, but I have Sandmark's Link bracelet. And so it's pretty nice. It is, much cheaper than Apple's Link bracelet. I would say is also of less quality, but not so much less that I care. And so I'll wear this sometimes. But far and away, the kind of band I prefer are Apple Solo Loops. I love Apple Solo Loops. They're the most comfortable. I wear them probably 95% of the time. And so I usually do the floor elastomer Solo Loop. And then if I want to dress it up, I have many, many braided loops. And I really love these because they're still just as comfortable. There's no clasp, and they come in fun colors. And so I'll do that as like a medium dressy if I'm feeling like, I don't know, I'm going to a podcast conference and I want to have a fun color on my band. I'll do that. And two other ones real quick. I have a couple of Nomad ones. I bought the Verge Blurples Nomad band. And when the Olympics were last summer, I bought this one. This is the France Nomad band. Nomads are actually very comfortable. They're durable, and I will wear this now on the 4th of July, so that's once a year. And when I really want to dress up my Apple Watch Ultra, I did buy Apple's Milanese Loop, the titanium Milanese Loop. And so that's what I do when I want to, quote-unquote, dress it up. But, yeah, I like solo loops most of the time. How about you?
I do like the solo loops. I was just looking. I only have a couple of. Holy smoke! I have, dude.
You got a basket full.
I have. Look at all these Apple Watches.
What are you doing with all these Apple Watches? What is that? How many review units? How many?
Nope. This is my Series 6.
Oh, okay. Series 6.
I have my Series 4, my first Apple Watch.
Okay.
I do have my Series 7, which is probably my favorite Apple Watch. I do have a Series 10, which is definitely a review.
Wait, is that the Series 7 you wear to sleep?
Yeah. So I've been wearing a Series 11 to sleep just so I can try it out, right? Like
Gotcha.
That's a review unit.
Gotcha.
But my Series 7 is the one that I would typically have worn. It's nice. That's probably my favorite Apple Watch, actually. But in most of these, so this is yours was probably better organized than mine. Mine is not very well organized. This just sits in my nightstand. And most of them are. I do have some solo loops. The problem is that the solo loops are no bueno on this is disgusting. Sorry, video watchers. But
what is wrong with that?
It's just been worn a lot, okay? But the solo loops don't work on the Ultra in the same size as the other watches, right? You have to go down a size when you go to the Ultra, and these are expensive. But this is probably I don't know, is this the Trail Loop maybe? I don't know. But this is an Apple Watch Ultra band, and that's probably my favorite one.
It's comfortable.
Yeah, and I do have two. I have the one that I'm wearing now, which is a Nomad. This is their sport band. And then I have that in another color. And then I also have I like Nomad's leather band. It's really weird to show you leather. It's really weird to show Apple Watch bands. They're not on Apple Watch.
It is. Yeah.
But other than that, I do just have a bunch of different, like the Apple Sport. Is this the Apple Sport band maybe? I have a bunch of versions of this.
Yeah, the sport band it has the clasp.
I have to be honest. Half of the ones, actually, I don't think I've ever bought an Apple Sport band. I think there's a decent chance that most of those either came with the watch when I bought the watch and I just never used them, or came with the watch when someone sent me a watch to review and they ended up in this drawer.
Can I, and you just put them in that basket when you're not
They're all just in this basket along with like 7 different Apple Watches. This basket right here is insane. And this just sits in my night. There's a table next to my bed and they sit in there.
So one of the a quick tip for storing your Apple Watch bands. I have a couple methods that I use. One is in a nightstand drawer, I have these little bamboo watch band holders. Have you ever seen stuff like this? Let me share it real quick.
Sure. And my wife was asking if I needed something like this. And probably the answer is yes.
I liked these. I have 2 of these stacked. This is not the exact one I have. I'll try to find the exact one I have for the show notes. But I like the little bamboo holders. But also, this guy I like even more. This is the 12 South Time Porter. You can attach it to your wall. It has like a 3M strip on the back. And the Apple Watch band, you literally just click it in the top, and then they hang down. And you can, do a couple of them in a row if you want. And I put this in my closet, which is kind of weird. Like if I'm getting dressed or whatever, and I want to actually switch watch bands, I would want to do it there where I'm changing or whatever. And so I have this on the wall of my closet, and I'll have they say it only fits 6. I fit like 7, in there. And so I have my most used solo loops in that little thing. And I like doing that.
Yeah, first of all, I need like 5 of those. And second of all, there are 0 walls in our house that my wife would let me put that. Like, no, I could put, I had to put it out here. I could put it right there on the wall above the light switch.
What about in the closet behind the clothes? You can
I'm not sure. I think she'd be like, "Don't you have a basket in the drawer?
Yeah,
These can go in."
Well, they get the bamboo ones because I'll find the ones that I got, but they're all pretty much the same. But these are nice. I like those little bamboo things. Anyway, I actually thought about getting another solo loop because every once in a while I get the urge to what seasonal colors might Apple have out right now? And I actually don't know, but I fall into that trap a lot. How often do you buy new bands ever?
The Nomad ones were the most recent ones. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I actually don't think any of these Apple bands, except for the solo loops, the braided solo loops, which are my all-time favorite. I should probably buy one for my Ultra that's the correct size. But I don't think I've bought any of these other ones. They just like are the bands that came with the watches, and I just keep them around.
Yeah. I just looked because Apple does release like fall and spring seasonal colors for all the watch bands. And I did see these when the Ultra 3 was announced in the Series 11. I wasn't about any of these. Like that orange, it's like a little darker orange. They call it a turmeric. And there's like a green gray. I don't know. I wasn't compelled by any of these colors. I really, honestly, my favorite colors for the braided solo loops is like this light green, almost like a, what do you call that? Not a pistachio. Lime pistachio. This
Key
orange
lime.
for fall time, this orange, and then this dark like emerald green. That's one of my favorites because, green and stuff.
I just need to do a black one. I probably will because the black was my favorite. In fact, they don't sell just a black one anymore. I had to buy this one. It was unopened, but like used on eBay or something like that.
Oh, yeah. They have a braided solo loop in midnight.
Yeah, I may be getting one of those here before the show's over, actually.
All right, well, Jason buys a new solo loop. We're going to go record a bonus episode. I have a new gadget with me, the Boox Palma 2. And so I'm going to talk about that in the bonus episode. And you can listen if you support the show at Memberful. We would suggest doing it there, join.primarytech.fm. You get chapters and the ad-free version and Primary Tech Daily and the unedited feed. You get all of that. And you can support directly on Apple Podcast. Maybe one day you'll get chapters. Still working on it. We'll see. But we'd appreciate that. And if you can, a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Help us get to 400 5-star reviews by the end of the year. We'd appreciate that. You can watch the show on YouTube. Lots of fun stuff to see in this episode. You can see me crashing out about Apple Podcasts over there. YouTube.com/@PrimaryTechShow. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.